Hey, this is Carlo at 4GQ TV here with a very special interview. And today I have Hallee Smith. Hopefully, I said your first name correctly because I'm bad with names
Hallie.
sometimes. Hallee.
You were
Okay,
kind
yeah,
of there.
I was sort of there. But welcome to the show and thank you for joining me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me on.
So, how did you get started in what you do? What was the thing that made you turn on the camera or go on YouTube or just go into content creation?
Mm, that's a big question. So, I guess the best place to start would be back in 2020. I've always had an interest in video and just making fun videos with my friends. Like I always did that when I was younger, but I never saw it as a career path, I guess, until I went viral in 2020 after I graduated college with a degree in marketing and graphic design. Um, and so I went viral a little bit on accident, but it was a result of pushing my comfort zone. Um, and so, yeah, at that point, I just kept rolling with it from there because I loved making videos and it's been crazy evolution since.
What was the video that made you go viral?
My first ever viral video was a random uh trend I did at Disney, and then I had like three Disney videos go viral, and I was like, interesting, but nothing really came of it. And then I had you know those videos that's like put a finger down if you blah 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 blah, and you tell a crazy story, and then you're like, I did one of those about this story from college where I got me and my roommates got robbed. So that was the second one that went
Ooh,
viral. But again, didn't really convert following, and I still didn't see it as an career path at that point. But then around, I'd say May or June of 2020, there was someone from my college who was also making videos that convinced me to be in some of his comedy sketches as the character Siri. And so I started being in those and they were going super viral. And I noticed people coming to my page, like finding my page when I wasn't even being tagged at first. And they're like, "Are you the girl that's Siri?" So I was like, "Oh, okay." Like people are really liking this character. So one day I had the idea to duet the videos, the duet feature on TikTok where I would lip sync the voice of Siri over on this side. And then on this side, when I was actually be like, "Hey Siri," and Siri would appear, me, I would disappear from the frame over here. So that was the video where I posted it. And overnight I gained 30,000 followers, which was insane.
wow. That's impressive. 30,000 overnight.
Yeah.
That's a
I
pretty
was
big
like, what do
jump.
I do with this?
And once you hit that, like once you got that 30,000 overnight, did you continue to make similar content or did you just change it up?
Yes. So I kept making comedy sketch, like Siri videos, basically. That was my main thing. And what's ironic is I had also just started my freelance business, Hallee Media and Design. And so I was doing content creation for other people. And I was too afraid for some reason to post that type of content. Like I didn't feel like it made sense and it felt too different from the comedy content. So I kind of kept it separate, but I kept doing the Siri videos because they worked and they were going super viral. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. I've never like even could have imagined this happening.
And what made you, I guess, try different things? Was it like, because I've seen some of your stuff and you have challenge videos too that you've done. I've seen you do like and correct me if I'm wrong because I'm probably not gonna say the names right, but different types of martial arts, improv comedy. Like you just go out and try a whole bunch of different stuff
Mm-hmm.
and you try to put yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seems like you just have fun doing it. So what made you go into that route and continue that journey?
Yeah, so it's been an evolution, and what I noticed is a lot of creators they evolve, and the biggest mistake I made early on was not letting myself evolve sooner. And so I kept with the Siri content until I don't know, the end of 2020, and then I had this series where I went to Starbucks to see how many times it took them to spell my name right. That went super viral. I did that at Dunkin' as well. And then I just made a bunch of spin-offs of those style of videos that kind of became my video style where I was the super high energy version of myself. I was running around, I was drinking coffee, and like I just kind of was seen as this bright, bubbly, like, oh, so happy person on the internet. And I feel like I kind of forced myself to keep playing that character online, um, to keep up with what people wanted from me, views, what like, what worked and what people wanted. And so then I got to a point around 2022, like in December, where I got super burnt out and I was like, I do not want to do this anymore. It doesn't feel right, because I knew intuitively that it was more of a character than like lifestyle content, because they were challenges, it was out of my comfort zone, and I had to kind of get myself like amped up a little bit to make the videos. But from the outside, like people thought like, that's just Hallee. So I had this kind of like dissonance where I felt like, I don't know. And I think that's what caused the burnout. So I took a month off then in December, and that's when the Comfort Zone Challenge series idea came to me. And I kind of had already had that idea for a few years, but I just didn't have the video skills to do it. So at that point I was like, what if I did this? Like I was really missing dance because I danced growing up. So I was like, what if I tried out this concept? Maybe I try training with a professional dancer or a group of professional dancers for 30 days and see what that looks like. So that's where the challenge concept was born. And then after that first video, I just kept replicating the process. And jujitsu, like you said, martial art, that was one of them.
So when you do these challenges, do you come out with the knowledge of that skill and do you stay within that skill? Like, do you keep those skills or do you forget them eventually? Because that's something I've always been curious about people that do
Mm.
challenges.
Yeah, so when you say skill, do you mean like do I keep doing the thing? Like do I keep doing jujitsu, or do I learn the skills within jujitsu?
Both. Do you keep doing it and do you keep learning more skills in it? Or are you just like, okay, I'm done with this and I'm gonna move on and I'm probably gonna
Mm.
forget in a year?
A little, I would say it compounds over time. I mean, in terms of sticking with every single thing, no, it's physically not possible to do jujitsu, dance, singing, improv, acting all at once. However, each experience I've found teaches me something different and has kind of contributed to almost personal development in a way. And so I've learned a lot of things about myself through the process. There are some things I still keep doing. Like I've been singing and going to open mics since November now. But jujitsu, no, I haven't been doing jujitsu since like, I don't know, I think I stopped in September or something like that.
And now you're on this journey of where you've entered into, I guess, like your own business and you're coaching people, you're helping people. And what made you transition to that portion of your journey?
Yeah, so what's funny is it wasn't actually a transition for me. For other people, yes. Like I said, I started my business in 2020 before I went viral. So that was the first thing. I just never talked about it. And I think early on, and the more I reflect on it, I think it's largely because taking a stand and being an expert is out of my comfort zone. Why else would I have been avoiding it all this time? And I've realized that kind of recently. But so, to kind of answer your question, the first coaching client, because that's what I'm focusing on now, I decided I'm going to hone in on like figure out what the foundation of my business is. And right now it's coaching, helping other people with their content. But my first client was actually back in, I think it was 2021. And I worked with a few clients, but then I was like, maybe I should just keep focusing on one thing and just keep doing the content only and not focus on coaching. But, I would still take on projects here and there. Like I've consulted with businesses that I meet word of mouth throughout all of the years. I just, again, like I haven't really talked about it or marketed my services until this year. I think I decided to make that shift back in August. So it's been a process of building out kind of the systems, I guess, and the foundation of the business versus just word of mouth going from project to project.
And when it comes to coaching people, and I'm sure maybe, you took marketing, in college.
Hmm.
And is there any, how do I put this question together properly? So from marketing in college to content coaching on social media today, were there any lessons or is it taught in marketing classes these days about social media today? Or is it
Mm.
something that you teach from your own experience? I probably phrased the question terrible, but it's there somewhere.
I think I got a pretty good understanding of what you're trying to ask. So when I think back to college, I mean, I know I took a social media marketing class, but social media changes so fast. What they were teaching then is completely irrelevant now. TikTok wasn't even like talked about. Uh, so in that regard, and I guess like largely my education in marketing, yes, it gave me a good foundation, but I'm not sitting here like, oh, that one time in marketing 101, that's what, like, oh yeah, I got to do that. It's more like I'll recognize things, kind of like learn as I go. I'm like, okay, I have to set up this system. How do I do it? I learn, and then I'm maybe like, oh, I kind of maybe remember learning that at one point in time in marketing, but it's not top of mind, if that makes sense. But to kind of answer that on the flip side, I actually went in and spoke at Akron University. Was it last week? Yeah, last week to their social media marketing class. And so I know their class, it has evolved and they're talking about social media nowadays. So for universities, it seems they are keeping up with the times.
And you might get asked this a lot, but when it comes to content, do you
Mhm.
think that the future is going to continue to be long form, or do you think short form is going to overtake all of long form? Any thoughts on that?
I definitely don't think it's gonna take it over. Always gonna be ebbs and flows, and there's no way people are just gonna stop watching movies and long form YouTube content. It's, I mean, the way I see it is it's two completely different ways of consuming content. And the way I consume long form videos, like I'm not, like I'll put on a long form video while I'm cooking, cleaning, or even on my TV, sit down and watch it. But I'm not going to consume short form content in that same way. They're kind of two completely different mediums of consumption. And I feel like maybe, I guess to speculate a little, maybe someday, or maybe they'll continue to kind of be different from each other, or I don't know. I think there's a lot of strategies you can use for using them hand in hand to like use short form to promote your long form, etc. But yeah, I definitely don't think it's going to make it go away.
And what was it that got you into the YouTube Creative Collective,
So like the shorts program,
the Shorts
kind of.
program?
Yeah, I mean, right when YouTube Shorts launched, I don't remember when that was. Maybe wasn't it in like August of 2020, or I think it fully launched in January of 2021. But I mean, it was ultimately out of an attempt to diversify my platforms, which we know now is important because TikTok is allegedly getting banned. Uh, but yeah, I just started reposting all my content from TikTok onto YouTube, basically.
And they were just like, hey, they sent you the offer to sign up, and you were like, yep, I'll just do it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I don't think it even existed when I first started posting. So when they developed the program, I was pretty excited because I was like, oh, it's kind of like having the long form creators get a partner manager and they're in, they have that connection. So I was like, oh, this is cool. Get a connection with YouTube and be able to have a community as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that scares a lot of people away is communities, right? Because in social media, especially on the whatever you want to call it these days, the Bird app, Twitter, X, whatever it is, it seems like
Mhm.
sometimes the community is not always positive. It's always the like a negative algorithm that takes off. It just the
Mm,
platform loves it. So a lot of people when they get into content creation, they're scared of meeting negative people or people that are just not going to vibe with them. And one thing I learned from meeting you and Sam and Safari Sammy was that like the YouTube, at least the YouTube portion of the shorts, everybody's very positive. Like it was a whole positive community. It's like the everything that I thought was going to be Twitter wasn't there at the at the YouTube community meeting. So how do you coach people getting over fears and stuff like this as well, or brands maybe that are like, oh well, I'm worried about the negative feedback on social media.
mm. Oh yeah, that is actually the biggest piece of my coaching. And people don't realize that. So it's an interesting challenge because what I've begun to learn is the people who are the most afraid to post and the ones that most need the support are the ones that are like, they'll take a step back from betting on themselves because there's a mindset block there. So people need to understand that why am I not, if I want to do this, I'm here talking to me or consuming my video or some other guru's video. You're doing that for a reason because you want to do something, but you're not doing it. And it's most of the time because there's an underlying fear. And so what I've found key is digging into what is that fear? Why is it there? What does it stem from? And how can we overcome it, basically?
And what about and this probably goes along with your coaching as well, but the people that are afraid because maybe they do a few videos and like their subscriber base or their numbers just aren't popping up and like, okay, well, I'm done. I'm giving up because I don't see anything taken off. And they just have this mindset where they're not going to succeed. How do you
Mm.
get over that hurdle?
How do I get over that hurdle with clients, or how could somebody overcome that hurdle?
How do you usually help people get over that hurdle?
Mm. So, I mean, people usually won't end up working with me if they have that much of a mindset block because they'll stop themselves before they even have a chance to join my program. But I guess if I was talking to somebody who kind of started and it's not working, I would say that you kind of have to take a look at why it's not working because it's easy to be like, oh, it's because I suck and I'm not meant to do this. That's what I mean, myself included. Like when I first started posting YouTube videos, they didn't do anything. And I kind of I left this out of my story earlier, but before I went viral on TikTok, I committed to posting weekly on YouTube. And I think I made 3 or 4 videos and they were doing a decent, like in hindsight, I'm like, okay, like I was doing better than I thought, but at the time it wasn't going viral or it wasn't getting like over 1,000 views. So I'm like, it's not working. And my first thought was, it's because I'm stuck. I'm not good at this. This is too hard. I shouldn't be doing this. And I just think that that's the first place people go. But if we can approach it with curiosity and think about what's the real reason it's not working? Do I just need to give it more time? Am I talking about the wrong topic? Do I need to do it in a different way? Do I need to speak to a different audience? There's so many different things you can do or there's so many other reasons that it could be. And it's definitely not that you just suck, you know?
Yeah, I think that's the second probably biggest thing that people stop themselves with is they see themselves stuck or in this place and like giving up, deleting my channel, I'm done with this.
Mm,
And and then there's I think what I would consider a third category is that you have a lot of people that are overexcited and they're like maybe just getting out of high school or just getting out of college and they're like, you know what? I'm gonna quit my job and just become a full-time creator and I'm gonna take off like Mr. Beast or I'm gonna take off like Ninja. Um,
yeah.
any advice on those lines?
So I think I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is you have to know what level of risk you're comfortable with. that is very risky. And if you're okay with taking that risk and you're ready to bet on yourself, then go for it. But personally, I wouldn't. Like I would recommend, I mean, for someone who wants security and wants financial stability to have some sort of plan or time frame, like I don't know, I'm going to quit my job in 6 months, and in those 6 months I'm going to post X amount of times so that by that 6th month maybe I'm going to have enough views, or maybe I'm going to have something to show for that's going to give me the security to make that decision. So I guess if we're talking specifically about someone quitting a job, that could be an example of how can you go about this realistically, um, versus, the riskier path, which, I'm not someone who wants to stop a dreamer. But I also think that there's a way of looking at things realistically optimistic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense. So when a client, like, you have your services, you help out clients, all kinds of
Mhm.
clients, businesses, personal, existing content creators. And what do you find that most people come to you for, like, uh, service wise, what they usually ask of you?
I mean, it doesn't really work that way necessarily. It's more like, what problems am I trying to solve for them?
Okay.
So a lot of people are, like you were saying, they don't know what to do next. They don't know what content to create. Or I've talked to a lot of creators who are really great at creating and they've had success, they've gone viral, they have a lot of followers and views, but they don't know, um they're burnout. That's what I was getting at. They're burnout. And so that's kind of a problem area I work with people a lot on. But then there's also people who they have some sort of real life expertise, like say, for example, an actor, a musician, uh, a columnist, somebody who works for traditional media, but they want to translate that expertise onto social media through content. Those are my favorite people to work with because it's a really cool transition. And as a business owner, I'm always trying to narrow down my niche. But of the people that I've spoken with and helped throughout the years, those have been some of the problems. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I'm starting my account from scratch. Can you help me build it? Sometimes it's a business saying, hey, how do I start creating content? And we create that for them. Well, I don't do done for you anymore, but I used to.
I mean, that is pretty cool. You take your experience. It's more like you've taken your experience and your knowledge of what you know has worked for you and has worked for people that you probably know, and you kind of compile that up and you just give it as advice in a sense. So I think that's like a pretty good transition from where you've been to where you're going. Do you still plan
Mhm.
on continuing creating content?
Oh yeah, I'm posting.
Okay.
I'm getting
Um,
back to the consistency of it, but yeah.
Where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, so my handle on TikTok and Instagram, my personal is at Hallee, HALLEE _Smith. And then I have a business account both on Instagram and TikTok, which is Hallee Media. And then on YouTube, it's just Hallee Smith. So you gotta make sure you spell it right. HALLEE.
Yeah, I think when I first met you, I spelled it all different kinds of ways wrong, and then somebody's like, "No, this is how you do it." So I was like, "Okay."
That's funny. Yeah, that's the irony of the Starbucks series.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go watch that now that you mentioned that. If you still have it
Mhm.
up.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I haven't checked if it got muted by the thing on TikTok where they muted sounds.
Yep, I know that all too well.
Mm. Mm.
Well, Hallie, I would ask you to stick around for a second, but I want to thank you for coming on the show and hanging out with me and telling your journey and telling people where they can find you. And I hope for all the content creators that are watching this, and we do interview a lot of actors and celebrities and people in the video game industry as well. So I hope you check out her content. And if you need help with your idea transitioning from your profession to social media, she's the person that you want to speak to.
Yes. Thank
She
you
is the
so
person.
much.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, thank you.